What does happiness from within mean to you?
I love that. So happiness from within, lots of things that come to mind right away. It's number one that it starts and ends with ourselves and what we think of ourselves and our expectations of ourselves, not anyone else's expectations or definitions of us. It doesn't have to do with comparisons. It doesn't have to do with what other people have or don't have or what they're saying about us. It comes from a truly intrinsic place where we say, how do I feel I'm doing? How do I think I'm behaving? Do I like how I'm presenting and showing up? And I think the second thing I would say is that happiness comes from within means that it's a choice. It doesn't depend on circumstances or what's going on outside of us. It's something we get to choose, we get to create. It's not we have it or we don't, or this bad thing happened to me, so I can't be happy. It comes from within. And since we control our withins, that means we can decide to be happy even in tough times.
Calling all women on planet Earth. I'm coming down to help you wake the heck up. Let's go, beautiful. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to another beautiful episode of Happiness from Within. If you're new, if you are a regular, welcome. I'm so excited. I have an incredible guest. Her name is Amy Chambers. I actually have her here. She is an incredible woman. She is actually the author of two best-selling books on Amazon. Her first book is called Seven Virtues of Exceptional Leaders, which was released in February of 2023. And her second book is Six Habits, which I'm really excited to hear, of Powerful People, was released in January of 2024. She is an executive coach. She's also a life coach, leadership consultant, and motivational speaker with over 21 years of experience, you guys, in the financial services industry. So, yeah, I'm really excited to have her here on the show to pick her brain and get some, great insights. As you guys know, the mission here of Happiness from Within is to inspire over 1 billion people to find happiness and healing, to touch people's hearts and souls at a very deep level through interviews, and to help you come out of the darkness and into the light. So, hello, Amy. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Where are you joining us from today?
I'm in Los Angeles, California, where it's nice and sunny and we've got some warmth after several days of rain and overcast. So, yeah, today's a good day.
Okay, wonderful. It's great to have you here on the show. So, the first question we have for you is, what does happiness from within mean to you?
I love that. So happiness from within, lots of things that come to mind right away. It's number one that it starts and ends with ourselves and what we think of ourselves and our expectations of ourselves, not anyone else's expectations or definitions of us. It doesn't have to do with comparisons. It doesn't have to do with what other people have or don't have or what they're saying about us. It comes from a truly intrinsic place where we say, how do I feel I'm doing? How do I think I'm behaving? Do I like how I'm presenting and showing up? And I think the second thing I would say is that happiness comes from within means that it's a choice. It doesn't depend on circumstances or what's going on outside of us. It's something we get to choose, we get to create. It's not we have it or we don't, or this bad thing happened to me, so I can't be happy. It comes from within. And since we control our withins, that means we can decide to be happy even in tough times.
Wow, that was really great. After doing so many episodes, every single person, I kid you not, every person has a beautiful and unique answer. There hasn't been one answer that's the same. I mean, maybe kind of similar, but that's why I love this question because it means something different to everybody, right?
Love
And there's
that.
no right or wrong answer, right? How one person views happiness, happiness from within, right? It's just a beautiful thing, right? Have you ever read the book, The Five Love Languages?
Yes. Is that Gary Chapman, maybe?
I believe so. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
If not, that's okay. But yes, I sure have.
Oh,
Many
that's great.
times, actually.
No, it's interesting because you really, you get to, even if it's actually someone even isn't in a partnership, if you start to see that whatever, when you start to learn what somebody's love language is, you can change that relationship you even have with that person, right?
Yeah.
Because, for example, if somebody's love language is gifts, well, then okay. maybe we can get them a little gift or something, right? It doesn't have to be something huge. It even talks about that in the book,
Yeah.
But yeah, like somebody in my family, their love language is definitely gifts. Like they love gifts, So, once in a while, even if it's bring them some apples or I don't know, just something, right? They get their whole. You should see their face. They get so lit up. It's like, oh, it's so you can really build relationships based on knowing what somebody's love language is.
Yeah, and along with that, it helps you understand why they do what they do. And so, even if your bottom love language is gifts, and someone gives you a gift, and either because they've taken the test, and or you've just seen it through observation, their number one is gifts. You get to say, "Hey, it's not what I would have chosen for myself, but this is the way they show me love, and this is the way they exude love." And so, I can really try to work to find the value in this because they're loving me in the way that makes sense to them. My number one is words of affirmation, but it's my partner's bottom. And so I work hard not to be so offended if I don't get as many as I would like. His number one is my number five. It's acts of service. And so when
Mhm.
he doesn't deliver the words, but gives the acts of service, I work hard to say like, oh, I can still choose to appreciate this because it's his way of sharing love. It's such a great framework. I'm really happy you brought that model up. It helps a lot
Yeah,
understand
for
ourselves anyway.
sure. Especially because you've your experience, you've led a lot of people, I just thought it was an appropriate question to ask.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know, take us back, before you had all this success, where did you grow up? Where was Amy like before?
Yeah, it's a tough question because it produces answers I think that surprise people. So I grew up in Buffalo, New York,
Hmm.
and my parents. I was an only child. My parents loved me very much. I think they meant really well. But there was a lot of childhood trauma in my house, and I didn't realize it till later. I grew up with what philosopher, or I guess researcher Carol dubs as a fixed mindset. I was very afraid of mistakes, failure, struggle. If I wasn't good at something immediately, I didn't do it. So when I didn't make the basketball team or I struggled in my very first gymnastics session, it was like, we just are going to pull her out of it. She's not going back because
Hmm.
we avoided pain. And we were very concerned with what we were thought of by our neighbors or people in the community. Do we look good enough? So lots of perfectionism, lots of people pleasing, lots of anxiety and stress over getting all A's. And anytime anything hurt or was tough, I was told, get over it. Let's just be happy. Stop crying. It was sort of like the Inside Out movie. We didn't want to have the blue ball, sadness. And so I had to unpack and unlearn a lot of these things over the last 10 years. And I always did well academically and professionally, but emotionally, interpersonally with relationships, I struggled for most of my life until I developed new ways and new beliefs and new values, which is actually kind of recent. And so I love the spirit of the show because there's been a lot of healing going on. And again, I think they meant well and they loved me, but they didn't get the right stuff or the right tools when they were growing up. And so then we kind of relived these things. So childhood looked a lot different than life today, honestly.
No, thank you. Thank you for being so vulnerable, because, whether you're a man or woman, one in every four people have gone through something traumatic. And the fact that you know, I mean, I see a shining person, happy person in front of me. You have a very good energy. I felt that even before we got on the video. I'm very particular who's on my show. And so I want to congratulate you and just honor you, because that
Yeah.
healing is, look, it's just flipping hard, okay? We're not,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna paint it rainbows and unicorns right now. Like there's no judgment here, but there's people that don't choose to heal. They just live a victim and that's it. The thing is, it's like if we're not growing, we're dying.
Yeah.
And so, I applaud you for, your accomplishments that you've had and you continue to have, because, that's a lot. I mean, to be, best-selling author twice, just all these things. I know, I'm sure a lot of it inside, but, that's huge accomplishments right there. Even healing
Yeah.
itself, people don't see that. That's a huge accomplishment too. And so I would love to transition into when you were let me ask you if you don't mind me asking, did you ever play any sports or anything?
So when I was young, I did actually, by junior, senior year of high school, I played tennis and I ran track. I wasn't very good, and I was maybe starting to break out of some of my mindset or shell of like, well, I don't have to be the top tennis player, runner on the team to just be on the team. I can still show up and like go through these practices. But until I kind of made that decision and said, I really want to do this, I played no sports throughout childhood, middle school, early high school. At some point, just right before college, I did say, I my friends are doing it and I want to go and try out. I just kind of walk on. But it was at a very low level, kind of a JV level. The short answer, I think, is no.
But you did it. I mean, I think that's the point, right? You did it. It's really interesting. You and I have a lot in common, if you don't mind me sharing. Same
Of
thing.
course.
It's like I ran track, right? And what do you call it? Cross country. And when they told me, yeah, do you want to be in cross country? I'm like, what? And they put me in varsity, but same thing. I was not the best. I was always the one in the back. But the thing was, is like, I wasn't doing it because I wanted to win. I was really doing it because it was part of, I'm sure you can relate to this, right? When you're part of, whether it's a sport, community, right? Being with other people, right? And it really
Yeah,
teaches you mindset stuff, and it does
totally.
shape you as a person because I just want to add this story and I'll go to my next question, but I just feel someone listening is going to relate to this. It's like our words are so powerful, right? They're so powerful. I remember this one time it's funny because I was never really good with directions. And so when you're running cross country, they have these crazy hills and stuff. It's like, and they literally show you the map. You got to go doon, 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 and they just expect you to memorize that. And I was like, you better be running your butt off because if not, you get lost. And so I
Totally.
always had this one girl that I would follow on our team. And I remember this one time we were running and it was just one of those it was really hard track, I mean, you're running miles and miles, right? I was just like, I was always running right behind her, just, I was like, I can't do this anymore. And she's like, yes, you can. And in that moment, when I said I can't, my body started slowing down. And then she's like, yes, you can. Yes. I was like, okay, yes, I can. Yes, I can. And then I got up and then boom, it was like mindset, right? But I share that because, like, that's going to be one of my next questions. When you're leading a lot of people, it's like, how do you, how do you manage all of that? Like how did your mindset change, through all your experiences that you had through your healing? I just would love to hear
Yeah.
any advice, that you have for our
I love
listeners.
that. I one of the things, and it sounds like the girl on the track team did this for you. So in the first book, I talk a lot about these different practices and processes for helping lead people through tough times. And so the one you've already talked about, it's the E in virtues. It's encourage energy. And
Mm,
I think us telling people, I see you, I notice you, I appreciate you, I value you, I recognize you, I believe in you. I think you can do this. I know you can do this. We're going to do this. It takes
yeah.
people such a long way. Like you said, words have power and words create feelings. And so, us knowing that a boss or even the members of our team, peers, believe in our abilities, want us there, see us when we exert effort is crucial. We have to tell people, just that they're doing a good job and to keep going. And so that's really important. I think another thing that shows up a lot in my book is that we're all unique and we bring something different to the table, and that's a good thing. And so, we need the person that's got that great math and science and that technical engineering eye to help us with systems and data. But we also need that person that's a great networker and relationship builder and really loves being out, shaking hands and kissing babies. That's going to sell the products and services, and they get turned on by extroverted environments. And neither one is better than the other. We have to have lots and lots of different kinds of people that bring different gifts and talents to get the work done. And so I never tolerated us feeling like, oh, the people in sales or leadership are better than the people in support roles or back office roles. We can't get it done without all of us. And so it was really important we acknowledged and looked for the ways that people were contributing and said that's going to look different than the ways I contribute. There's a lot of other things. I do think creating, this is kind of the final thing I'll share now,
Oh,
creating a
take your time. You're
community.
fine.
Oh, very good. Creating a safe and secure environment for us to make mistakes and err and fail. That's a big part of creating a supportive culture. I think when people feel like they have to be perfect, kind of how I felt growing up, they're not willing to tell on themselves when they're struggling or when they've made a mistake or they haven't gotten it right. They try to hide those things and cover them up. They don't want to be found out. They've got their identity kind of wrapped up in I have to be perfect, but we're not perfect. We're human. We actually learn things from making mistakes. And so I'm not overreacting or getting angry when someone comes and says, "Hey, we didn't get it done. We've got a problem here, boss. We've got some issue we don't know how to solve." Actually, having your questions be talk to me about, what are you learning? What are you wanting to do next? How are you feeling about all this? Instead of how the heck did this happen? Like it's very important in those moments because people are very curious in those moments in particular to see how do you react, how do you respond, is it okay to be real and authentic. And so those are a few things amongst many others that are important. But I see people when they have those things, an encouraging environment. They are valued for their unique contributions. They're not asked to be someone they're not. They can make mistakes. They can speak their mind. People kind of come alive. They do their really great work under those circumstances. And some of that I saw in what that girl ahead of you said to you and how it lit you up. And it's why you finished and why you kept going instead of giving up. So yeah,
Yeah.
it all checks out.
Yeah, no, thank you for what you share. That's really, really powerful, I'm curious to know what's the difference between just a regular coach and an executive coach. Do you work with like CEOs or like do you
I,
work with millionaires? Do you work with like seven or eight or nine figure earners? I'm just curious, like,
Yeah, I do have a seven-figure earner, and I have some chiefs, so CEOs, also CFO, CHRO, and COOs. They aspire to earn eight and nine figures someday. They're not there yet, but
mhm,
the beauty of what we talk about is that these are the concepts, the principles, and the practices that get us there. Because I do believe success leaves clues, and so the way we behave every day and the way we lead every day, that's what helps us. Grow and whatnot. And so most of my individuals that I coach on an executive level are at kind of mid-size organizations, but they do have aspirations and a lot of them are pretty young actually. So they got a lot of runway ahead of them to achieve that. But from a professional standpoint, I view executive coaching as the advice and mentorship for anybody that's around helping a team or an organization or a business prosper, grow, transform, and the people inside of it are also prospering, transforming, and growing. If we're talking those things, I view it as executive coaching. You're trying to figure out how to lead people at a senior level
mhm.
and be the kind of executive that can get results. And so I do have people that are in district manager or regional roles. I view that as executive coaching as well. That's where they're headed.
Oh, that's wonderful. No, I mean
Yeah.
I see, you know, when I'm looking at people's profiles, whether it's LinkedIn or I'm a lot on Instagram, right? There's a lot of amazing coaches out there, but I'd never seen that executive coach. I thought, oh, that's different and unique. So,
Oh, great. Yeah, very
so
cool.
you also speak on stages, is that correct?
I've done a lot of speaking for mid-sized organizations, kind of like company events,
Okay.
managerial leadership powwows. I haven't ventured into like TED Talks or anything of that nature. I aspire one day to be sharing these messages on a larger stage, but right now all my speaking is at corporate events, companies, that sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why I just kind of put that out there. I just see you speaking on stages
Thank
if that's
you.
something you want to do.
I see people like Mel Robbins or Brendan Burchard, Brene Brown, Tony Robbins, and I think it would be kind of rad. Obviously, I'd show up in my own way, but if one day I'm on stage like they are sharing these messages, all of those examples I just gave, they're saying all the same stuff I am. They believe and know all the same things. But yeah, I do aspire one day to share these messages with the world in that way. So thank you for putting it out there. I like the manifestation. I think that's
Yeah, no problem. I'm hoping to, if it's okay to share with you, just I want to work with a particular coach. I'm saving money right now, to be honest,
excellent.
because it's a 6 month program, but it's going to be an incredible investment.
Very cool.
This coach, she works with, six and seven figure earners, but it's specifically to she grooms you like with your message and also to basically speak on platforms. I mean, she knows what she's doing. I mean, she's literally gotten paid, I think 20, even up to $50,000 just to speak on one stage, and
Yeah.
so. But yeah, I'm putting it out there. So it's
I
like,
like it. I like it. I think that's where it starts is we see it first in our minds and then we bring it to life. A lot of people say I'll believe it when I see it. I think that's in reverse. We have to believe it and then we get to see it. And so I think that's exactly how it works is we make a decision, hey, I want to be on stage. I'm going to be on stage. And then we figure out what do I need to do to get closer to that? And then it comes to life. So I like what you're doing here. I think that's exactly how success starts.
thank you. I'm just curious, have you ever heard of the author? He's also a philosopher, Robin Sharma, by any chance?
That sounds so familiar, but oh, you said it Ron or
Robin
Robin?
Sharma.
No, I haven't.
He
Yeah.
wrote the book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari.
Okay.
He's written some other books. If you don't mind, I just everything we've been talking about, I wanted to read
Please.
this quote that he talks about. He, I'm in his, he has this, please check him out. He is so amazing. He's such an incredible human being. He's helped a lot of, I think Microsoft and Apple were like one of his biggest clients, with like leadership stuff like like working with very high end. But if it's okay, I just wanted to read this. I just thought this quote was so appropriate for what we're talking about today. And he talks about the meaning of happiness. He says here, I get chills when I read this. He says, there can be no happiness if what you do is not aligned with who you are. He phrases it another way. He says, there can be no happiness or fulfillment or to live a world-class life if your daily actions are not aligned or congruent with your deepest conviction. Isn't that good?
That is good. And it's exactly what I have found to be true. And others have said it as well. I like hearing it in new and different words. So that's beautiful the way he wrote it. But yeah, I had just before you said congruent, I had actually written down the word congruence on my paper. And then you said it. But I think there's nothing more true than that. To be honest with you, when I do kind of things from a life coaching perspective, but also in my, executive coaching conversations, ones I'd classify that way, this comes up a lot. People will sometimes talk about that they don't feel fulfilled or they're not motivated or inspired to keep moving forward on a pretty long project, or that they don't feel passionate anymore. And typically, when you dig into it and you work backwards, the reason almost always is that they're not aligned with the things that light their soul on fire and where their natural talents are. They've gone astray. They're working in a job that doesn't actually align with their values and their vision statement or just the things that they matter most to them. And so it's like, no, duh, of course you're not going to feel happy and fulfilled and joy when you're spending time doing things that aren't personally important to you. And so it's really important we figure out what those things are that we're passionate and excited about. Because I think I heard you say daily actions. It's like we don't know what to align our daily actions with until we know what those things are for us. And so step one is it's figuring it out. What matters most to you? What lights you up? What are you passionate about? What do you have conviction towards? And then saying the more I spend my time doing those things, the better I'm gonna feel. And so I just love it. I think it's great.
Oh, great.
The monk who sold his Ferrari, I wrote it down.
Oh,
So
perfect, perfect.
yeah. I do
I
have
would.
Think Like a Monk over on this bookshelf here. So yeah, another book about monks that'll go. I think that was Jay Shetty's book, Think Like a Monk, and so it seems like a hot topic right now.
What is Jay Shetty's new book?
It's I don't think it's new anymore. It came out probably 5 years ago, but it was Think Like a Monk.
Huh.
And so but it's been around a while. This is not a hot release, but
Oh, okay.
seems
Wow,
like
that's
we're
interesting. I
interested in
love
what
Jay
the monks are
Shetty. I
doing.
I don't follow a lot of his stuff, but when I see him speak or see him on Instagram, I'm always very impressed. I'm
Yeah.
sure like as you right now, he's actually traveling now, like doing he's traveling with his I don't know if it's his podcast or just speaking, but I was like, good for him?
I think it's so cool when people that have these messages and want to change lives and influence others, they get take to the road, they get on stages, they're going to places where they can be heard. So I think
Yeah.
that's wonderful. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So I'm excited to dive in a little bit into your book. You wrote The Seven Virtues of Exceptional Leaders. I'm just curious to know if you can share one or two, like what does it take to be one of these virtues, you can share with
Yeah.
our listeners or anyone watching this video.
Yeah, so the book's an acronym. Both books are acronyms. So I'll just maybe I'll give you a couple of them, and I'll start from the front and kind of go in order. So the V stands for vision. The
Mm,
I stands for involve. The R is for routines. T is for talk. U is for understand. E is for encourage, energy, like we already talked about, and then S is for showcase. So showcase swimming is what I called it. And so just kind of from the front, and we've already talked about it a little bit. In fact, we were just talking about it with this Robin Sharma quote. But it starts with vision. People get excited when they understand what they're working towards. I can't
mm,
tell you how many leaders talk about this is what we need to do, but they don't talk about the why. And
mm,
they don't actually help people understand how the work that they individually do connects to it. Like, hey, here's where we're really wanting to end up in 5 years. This is why our products and services are so important. This is the difference we're trying to make. This is what makes us special. This is why we're different than our competitors. If leaders don't spend time or enough time and a lot of time talking about it, people get kind of lost. It's like, why are we doing this? Anyway, I come here and work here 40, 50, 60 hours a week. I sort of forgot what this is all about. And so starting with vision and helping people always know what they're driving towards really important. And then the second one is probably my favorite. It's involve. And this was a big learning I had in leadership as I went through many years of doing it wrong. And then I figured it out is that it's not about the leader, it's about the people. And so you're not in leadership because of what you know. You're there to help unleash what other people know. It's not about you doing the work, it's about helping other people do the work better. And so it's not about having the answers, it's about asking the questions. I stopped running meetings. I viewed myself more as a facilitator of meetings.
oh,
I
wow.
would give away the meeting and assign out, like, hey, Lori, tomorrow or next week we're meeting. I want you to do the hour on audit and compliance and risk. Like, you're going to be in charge of that. Hey, Ray, I want you to talk about our customer service ratings and scores and that plan we're going to, formulate or how we're going to address some of those things. Tom, you're going to be the person to give the sales update. And what I'd really like you to, you do this in any way you want, but what I'd really like you to touch on is ideas the group is having about, what's working for us or what's not. And you'd kind of like get to a point where you'd sit back in team meetings or even one-on-ones and really be saying, what's on your guys' mind? What do you think we need to do to solve this problem? And then you'd allow people to do the work. You'd trust them. You'd let them make their own decisions. One of my former bosses said, if you're going to rate someone a 4 or greater, which is, exceeds expectations on their performance review, when does it make sense to make a decision for them? Like, if they're a top performing person, shouldn't they make pretty much all of their decisions? And then, if something goes wrong, you deal with it then. And so involving people, not giving orders, not giving directions, but giving them space and freedom and opportunity to move towards that vision, it's critical. And I see a lot of leaders miss this. They feel like they're there to sign out the work and give bark orders, give direction, and that people aren't very capable, that like they have to be involved in everything. And they really limit their people when they think that way. And so those are the first two out of the seven virtues in more detail. They're two of my favorite. Encourage energy, which I mentioned before, another big favorite of mine. But this is really, the book is all about how do you get people to rise up, contribute at their highest level of capability? How do you get to step back and just unleash an environment where they do amazing work? That's what the book's all about.
Oh, that's amazing. I was
Thank you.
really curious to know because you mentioned something really important. We were talking about the vision, right? And I'm curious, you were saying that you see that that's one of the main factors that people struggle with. And I'm
Yeah.
curious, is that with people that are already running, six, 7, 8-figure companies and they're not like they're doing well enough, but that's not exactly what they want to be doing?
I'll give you, from a company standpoint, I'll give you kind of some examples or just sort of my sense of how I see it most. It's the company's vision is something that's written on a website. Maybe it's been printed on a wall, might even be on a screensaver or a coffee mug or a mouse pad, but it's not something that's lived and practiced on a day-to-day basis. I'll just be
Mm,
very honest. I worked for Wells Fargo a long time ago now. It was about 17 years ago, and then I left like 16 years ago. So it's been a while. I was only there a year and a half, but I was there in '07 and '08. And Wells was a great example of at that time, the company was performing wonderfully. If you looked at the financials, balance sheet, income statement from a shareholder perspective, I mean, they just looked like unstoppable. They could do no wrong. But internally, I was struggling because I didn't feel like we always did the right thing for our
Mhm.
customers. We had that plastered on walls that we were interested in improving people's financial lives. But it seemed like we were willing to open accounts without people's permission all the time. It seemed like management was kind of okay with us cutting corners. Leaders would even say, you got to get to these numbers. I don't care how you do it, just get to them. And then what I started to notice is a lot of people were fudging things and they were cheating basically. And so I got really lost in that year and a half I was there because I thought, hey, we have to. I look at the vision and the core values, and it's all about integrity and ethics and fairness and honesty and doing the right thing. But that's not what I see us doing at all. But no boss ever talked about the company vision, mission, and core values at that time. We just talked about goals and numbers and results. And everybody that I worked around at that time felt sort of lost in that environment. And to a lesser, and by the way, I guess in hindsight, you go back, they were in the news. They got publicly held accountable for these same sorts of things years later. I see lots of companies where maybe not to this degree where there could be, active fudging or people kind of turning a blind eye to the wrong things happening. But if you go and ask the average employee, hey, what separates this company from your competitors? What makes you different? Where do you guys want to be in 5 years? What do you want to be known for? A lot of employees can't give it to you. They can't even put it in a few sentences, like paraphrase it. And that's a sign that it's not being talked about. And people aren't being reminded of, hey, our goal is to get here. So how do we do that every day? It's like once they put it on a wall or on a website, they never went back and said, how did we deliver on it this week? Like, what are the specific ways we're showing? So I really see at a company level and at a leadership level, people get disconnected first from the organization. And then I think along with that, people also do get disconnected from themselves. They forget why they started working so hard in the first place. Hey, this was all about my family and wanting to provide for them. I'm never home. I haven't gone on a vacation in a year. I don't remember the last time I went to my kid's little league game. Well, I mean, I thought this was all about your family. So I do see people get personally lost too. But in a professional setting, I see people like the organization kind of loses its way, and then that leads to individuals losing their way. I hope that makes sense.
No,
That's
it
probably a lot of
does. I was
detail.
just really curious to ask that question. No, it's very, very interesting. It's
I
very,
will
very
tell you that I think some of this gets solved by having vision statements. One of the first things I do with a lot of clients is to make a vision statement with them, or they really make it with some ideas from me. But the way I ask people to start the vision statement is if you were to pass away in 5 years, prematurely or unexpectedly. I know that's terrible, to imagine that, but just for a moment, we imagine if someone were to die young. What would they want people to say about them at their celebration of life or their memorial service? How would you want to be remembered? Would you want to be remembered as, your community work and making a difference? Would you want to have been remembered for being a fantastic boss that always listened and cared about people and got things done? Would you want to be remembered as a fantastic father or spouse? And then the question becomes, okay, once you got the statements of like, I'd want people to have noticed these things, and then you say, how am I showing up every day to make sure that they can and will say those things? Would they say those things about me now? Am I doing what I need to be doing so that people can say those things? And so, yeah, I think starting with a vision statement and then working backwards as to then what do you do every day to bring it to life? That's where people that don't have a lot of experience with this, that's like their first step. So
wow.
yeah, maybe that's something for your listeners to
No,
consider.
that's great. No, I love your mindset. It's great. You're really gonna love Robin Sharma because a lot of things you're
Oh,
saying
yeah.
is very aligned with, what he teaches. It's just said in a different way.
Oh, so cool.
It's funny because that's usually one of my questions towards the end is how do you want to be remembered when you take your last breath?
Oh,
Do you want
that's
to
so
answer that
cool.
question right now?
Yeah. So I'm probably giving you too much, but after a vision statement, I always recommend that people also have core values. And for me, at least, the way I want to be remembered is based on my core values. And so
Mm,
I'll give you a few of them in alphabetical order. The first one is accountable. And the way I define that is I do what I say. So if I said I was going to be somewhere, I am, which is why it bugged me when I was a couple minutes late to meet you today, because I thought I like
No
to
problem.
keep my promises to people. At least that's what I'm going for. But I'd want people to say she was accountable. If she said she was doing something, she did it. Another one is authentic. And I probably define that as vulnerable and genuine. So earlier you thanked me for being vulnerable, and that really made me happy because it's always what I'm going for is that I tell people the truth and I don't hold back and I'm an open book. Compassionate is another one. I think we need a lot of respect and care in our world right now. And so working really hard to say if I have something that's different between me and another person, instead of judging that, I work really hard to understand that. Courage is a big one. I like to use courage to overcome fear. And so running marathons scares me. And so now I do it a lot. Skiing scared me only a few years ago. Now I do it a lot. And so I would want people to
Wow.
say, she was scared of things, but then she like did them anyway until she wasn't scared of them anymore. Like she used courage. Transparency, that's another one. I really want to, my word matters and I want to be honest and forthright with people in my dealing. So I'm probably giving you too many examples, but I would
No,
want
you're not. Keep going, please. You're
Oh,
fine.
cool.
This
Well,
is
those
deep
are some of the big
stuff.
ones. Curiosity is another one that's in there, like that I didn't stop learning at the end of my formal education. So I wrote down the name of the book because one of my goals is I read a book every single month. And so I'm right in the middle of Arate right now by Brian Johnson. I have a book after that, but then what would it be? I guess my June is free. And so I'll strongly consider making the book you recommended my June book. But reading, watching podcasts, finding places where I can learn new information and find new ways of thinking. Curiosity, it's really important that I keep learning and growing. So these are probably some of the most important values I have. So I would want people to say, she did that. That was like, those would be the words I would use to describe her. And I can give you specific examples of those things happening. That's how I try to live every day. I'm not always successful. Life is hard. So sometimes something comes up and you're not at your best and you snap at someone that normally you'd show compassion towards. But those things have become the exception. They're not the norm because I try to live in accordance with these values. So
Wow.
for me, it would be that people remembered me on that.
That's wonderful. So you are an athlete now.
I am. I became one. Yeah.
That's what I
So
was I apologize. I because I'm a healer, I pick up people's energy if I choose to, and that's why I was asking you like if you played sports because I was picking up that energy, right? And I
love it.
was like, what do you mean she didn't? And then you mentioned this and I was like, wait, that's the energy that I was picking up. So that
Yeah.
congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you. 11 years ago I couldn't run a mile without stopping. I couldn't probably even have made it to the end of the block without stopping. I would say things like running's not for me. And then I kind of went through a bit of a traumatic experience. I went through a really tough breakup and I was blindsided and devastated. And during that year of healing from that relationship is where this journey started. I found a mentor, I got a therapist, I began reading books, I developed my mission statement and my core values. And as part of that, I wanted to test this mantra that I was being told by my mentor and my therapist, which was you can do hard things. And just because you didn't do something before doesn't mean it has to stay that way. Like you can teach and train yourself to do something completely different. And I had gotten a little curious in running. And I'm like, I wonder if I can do that. Like, what if I could figure out how just to run a 5K? Because running was really hard for me. I mean, a couple of minutes and I would be done. I was like, my lungs feel like they're going to explode. My legs hurt. And so slowly but surely, I went in about a year and a half period from couldn't run a mile to a marathoner. And now I'm an avid runner. I run almost every day and I very much identify myself as a runner. But this was new. It wasn't until my mid 30s that I started down that road. And until then, not athletic, didn't have a sport. So it was a big, big, big change. So it's kind of why my answer was no, I didn't play sports because historically, yeah, growing up, didn't at all. Which is actually why this is so special to me, that I'm such a runner now, is because I taught it to myself later on my own. And it didn't look like there was a lot of evidence I was going to be any good at it. But it shows me that we can change things about ourselves if we really want to. So yeah, that's my plug on running for you.
No, I just actually that made me cry. That was so deep. That
Oh,
was
that's so
so
special.
that was so beautiful. No, I just that was just really deep because you just you're the type of woman that doesn't give up, and it's just, I
Yeah.
just want, if you don't mind me sharing, I just have to say that really touched my heart because, we're all, this thing called life, right? We all struggle with things, right? And it's like, but the thing is like, it doesn't matter how many times we fall, right? It's the number of times that we get up.
Yep.
It's like, there's, it's very sad. I don't mean to say this, but I want to say it if that's okay. Trigger warning. It's just like, there's many people on this planet that commit suicide because they give up, right?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
maybe they just, I don't know. It's like, it- we never know what's going on through somebody's mind, right? It's like when I
Yep.
hear stories like yours and, it's like, we can't give up, and like we're human, we have such potential, like I think we only use like 20% of our brain. I don't even remember what the numbers are, but it's
Yeah.
just like, we have so much, each of us, is such a beautiful diamond, each of us has so much potential, and the reason I just was so motivated with what you were sharing is because, like it wasn't that long ago. I won't get too much into it, but if it's okay to just share, it's like struggling with my health for a really long time, dealing with an incurable disease, I healed a lot of my body. It was like literally like 4 years ago. And, this whole podcast came from that,
Oh,
from healing my body, and, I was sharing with you about running, and eventually I know that I will get to a point where I can start running again. I'm not there yet because I've had many surgeries on my left knee, but I mean, to even sit like this and to be able to walk is such a gift, and so it just made me think in my head, man, it's like if she didn't even be able to run, then I was like, I'll be able to run, and here you are skiing and all these things. So you just
yeah.
really motivated me today and reminded me that, like, because, it was just certain things have been happening, and things are better now, but it's just like you reminded me that I need to start reading again because I've been kind of lazy about, I'm being honest with you. But I
Yeah.
have like a whole books there, but yeah, it just really motivated me today. So I really needed to hear what you were saying.
You've made my day, and I think it's so great that this is a conversation and we're both sharing. I never know what podcast hosts expect or want. Is it like an
Yeah.
interview? But I think everything you just shared is so powerful for your listeners to hear and very powerful for me to hear. I'm so sorry that you've been working through an illness, but you're a great example that it's to some degree mind over matter. You're here, you've created a show to share these concepts and these ideals to touch other people. So you've turned something really negative into something really positive. And then you're being very honest and open and vulnerable, which I think is step one to charting a new course of like saying, hey, I don't feel very motivated right now, or I'm struggling a little bit. I think it's really human for us to say, I'm supposed to be reading a book every month, but I fell off. I haven't done that in 6 months. Like these things happen. It's really hard to stay on the wagon. But I think this is why the H in my habits book was for have honest humility. It was about being honest and humble enough to say, I'm struggling. I'm not in a great place. But I can see through everything you said how strong you are. You still retain hope for it doesn't have to stay this way. It's that way right now, but it doesn't have to be permanent. I think that's sadly when people take their own lives is they lost all faith or belief in the fact that things could become different later. They were feeling like however I'm feeling right now in my this moment, that's how it's going to stay, and I can't handle that and I can't have that. And so they had lost any sort of realization of like next year might look a lot different, and it's up to me to make it that way. And I just kind of heard you say it. I think I can start walking again. It's a gift to walk. And that's exactly how I started running, was just walking like longer distances and just being proud of myself for getting out and doing some form of movement or activity. And then it turned into step by step something bigger. And so, yeah, I think meeting people where they're at, for anyone else that's like, I'm not going to go run a mile tomorrow. It's just like, hey, can I get out and walk for 5 minutes today? Maybe could I get that to 10 minutes later? And us choosing to be proud of all those little steps along the way. I think that's how we kind of get motivation back. Maybe it's not a book a month, but it's like, I'll just read 10 pages or for 10 minutes tonight before I go to bed, or 4 days this week. I'll try to read for 10 minutes. And then if I get into the motion of that, that starts coming a little easier. By virtue of doing that, I'll probably have a little more motivation to turn that into an everyday thing, or maybe it becomes 20 minutes. But it's like starting small, I think, is how we get out of those ruts that we all get into. And so I think it's awesome you shared everything you did. And I think it's incredible that from something that was so tough, you made the show to be real and help other people who I'm sure are facing very similar stuff, know that they have options and choices too, and there's hope for them, and that they can heal, just like it says. So anyway, thank you, Janet. You've touched me as well today.
I'm so glad. So yeah, before we wrap up, I just would love to I'm going to open the floor again. I'd love for you to share anything that just comes to your heart right now that you feel
Yeah.
people would love to hear, but I'll give you the floor one last time.
Okay, it's based on everything you just said, and I guess some of what we've been talking about. And I guess the first thing is a Henry Ford quote, and it's Henry Ford, as well as I know it, said, "Either you think you can or think you can't. Either
Mm.
way, you're right." I really do think us believing that we can be happy again. We can rise out of challenge. We can make a different life for ourselves. We can have a good day tomorrow. That's where us being able to actually do those things starts. It's us believing we can, and so that's probably the first thing. And the second thing, it's another quote, although I'm completely forgetting who said it. I want to say Michelangelo, but I'm like, no, that's not it. But it basically says, no problem can stand the assault of sustained thinking, which means that anytime we're facing anything, us giving it time and continuing to noodle on it and reflect and think about it, we do find solutions over time. So if we just continue to assault the problems with our lives as the like, what haven't I thought of yet? And like, maybe I'll put it away for today, but in another day or two, I'm going to come back and just get pen to paper and brainstorm one or two more ideas. Eventually, you're going to find the answer. So I just really hope people believe in themselves when they hear those quotes, because I just think there's greatness in everybody, but it comes down to us first knowing it and believing it's there in ourselves. So that's what I would leave you and your listeners with today.
Oh, it's wonderful. I think it's amazing. If it's
Great.
okay with you, I would love to share a quote from one of my mentors, Daisaku Ikeda. He says, "When your determination changes, everything else will move in the direction you desire. The moment you resolve to be victorious, every nerve and fiber in your being will immediately orient itself towards your success. On the other
Um,
hand, if you think this is never going to work out, then at that instant, every cell in your being will be deflated and give up the fight. And then everything really will move in the direction of failure." Daisaku Ikeda.
Yeah, so much overlap in that concept and kind of the stuff I shared. Multiple people are saying these things. I think it means that there's something to it then, and it's probably right. But I love what you've just shared there. I think you're right. The body rises up and meets us, but like it can only do what the brain asks it to do and what the heart implores it to do. And so it's ready to go either way, but it's depending on us to tell it and give it like, hey, we're going to be successful. We can do this, or like, all is lost. And then it's going to do, whatever in accordance with that. So, yeah, what you've shared is fantastic. I love it. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Absolutely. So I really want to thank you for being a guest here on Happiness from Within. It's been a pleasure. All of your links will be below, so
Great.
anybody that's interested in following you. And but yeah, I just want to wish you just such a beautiful day. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Thank you, Janet. You've been wonderful. And I wish you the best on your journey. I'll be following from here on out.
All right, thank you so much.